so much, and thank you, Professor Singh, for grounding us. I'd like to encourage you to take a moment now, either individually or with the person next to you. Just reflect with them what were some of the things out of Professor Singh's talk that you think we need to hold on to firmly as we have this discussion around 3 core questions that we're about to begin. So please take a moment. If you'd like to stand up, please don't leave the room, but if you'd like to stand up for that conversation as well, just to have a stretch, please feel free to do so. We'll come back in a few minutes. So we will absolutely need to do that a little later, but we are pushed for time. It was wonderful to have the Vice-Chancellor with us, but we were a little delayed on the start of the day. So you might have thought, what's happening here? That you've been speaking so much, Simon, and then we had the Vice-Chancellor, who gave an amazing presentation to ground us. But I thought you said this was going to be a lab of ideas. So what we wanted to do is set the groundwork of ideas, but then now increasingly the work will be done at your tables with members of the group sharing. As Sultan's saying, showing the great things that are already happening in India, and then looking at how we can build on those. So we're going to tackle the big questions. No one has to be experts in the room. As we heard from the professor, it's about actually that wisdom comes from realizing we don't have all the answers. And even though we had 9 boxes of system reform, they're only a guide to help us ask new questions. So we have 3 big questions in your program. One about teachers, which we were going to look at next. The next one about equity and inclusion. And then after lunch, Sultan will be leading our discussion, looking at the potential for technology. So indeed, we're going to have a future-focused learning lab, but of course grounding in the things that make us human, the things that make this country great, as we've heard before. And for each question, you'll feel us moving through a process. In order to have this ideas lab, first we will scope out the problem, just for 7 minutes or so, to say, how have we been thinking about this up until now? And one of our colleagues will do that. Then the second step is to assess, to think about different people sharing different ideas of good things that are already happening, but acknowledging the challenges. And then thirdly, we will work together at tables and a big group thinking about practical initiatives for change. And this is why we have to be, as Vitna said, be in double espresso mode, like you've had 2 coffees, thinking about opportunities. We need to embrace innovation, thinking both about design questions, but also when we've already got good things happening, how do we scale it? How do we bring in new funding from investors, whether social investors or for-profit investors? How do we bring in a new narrative to bring other parts of the political spectrum on board? 4, we want to harness cross-siloed innovation. So you might have realized that you're not necessarily sitting with other people from your organization. That's by design. You might have noticed there's people right at the top of their organizations and people like myself who are young with different ideas by design. Because the best innovation happens through radical collaboration across silos, and that's why you're sitting at the tables that you're in. And lastly, at the end of each lab, we want to commit to actionable initiatives. We don't want to just talk big policy statements. We want an investor to team up with a practitioner to say, let's move this idea forward. We want a researcher and a school and an entrepreneur to say, could we come together in Mumbai or Bangalore or Delhi and work together on this problem of practice to develop a new technology? We want real solutions, real discussions, and real commitments. Let's keep it with our hands as a focus. So our first question of impact is really around teachers and how could we attract, prepare, and retain high-quality teachers. And Nitya, I'll ask you now, to introduce our first speaker and the topic.
We'd like to invite Abba Adams, an alumnus of J.D. Ram College. She has a master's in English literature from Delhi University and another master's in drama and theatre from the University of Leeds, UK. Worked over 35 years in the area of education, media, and arts management. The former director of Sri Ram School and presently the advisor and patient to Step-by-Step School and a very, very well-known columnist, writes a lot about all education. We invite her to scope the field on teacher preparedness.
Thank you. And as you come up, just let you know, because please, as we're working through, we have our timekeeper. Where is our wonderful timekeeper? So what we're going to do, just to help move, now that we're not having lots from the front, help move each speaker, who's about 7 minutes through, or 10 minutes for the scope. So we move through the content and then move into discussion. So please, for any of our speakers or contributors, don't feel any disrespect when we're saying we're time. It's just so we can keep moving and have time collaboratively. I hope that's okay, and our timekeeper will just stand up at the end of the time, and then we'll try to draw on the main points. Is that okay with everybody? Okay, thanks so much, Adha, for this.